Well, I had a conversation the other day with Chris Franklyn, and it kind of follows on from a couple of messages from Chris from King Bespoke Creations a while back. I wasn't going to get involved with the Lockdown 2020 build challenge or the Use What You've Got challenge with this build, because I kind of thought I've had to buy a few things in. I'm not strictly using what I've got. All of the wood and basically everything except the unnecessaries and the hardware I did have, but I have had to get a few things for it, so I kind of thought it's a bit unfair. It's not really playing by the rules. But to be honest, from all the comments and what everybody's been talking about, it looked really good fun, and the rules don't seem to be particularly hard and fast anyway. So full disclosure, I have cheated. I bought things that I didn't have, but I'm on board. It means I get to plug some fantastic guitar builders, and if you haven't checked them out, there's a link in the description to, I think Chris Franklyn set up a website with everybody's details on it, how to look at everybody who's taking part. He did that. I'm sure he did that with the Great Guitar Build-Off. He's just kind of taken it upon himself to just plug everyone and say, look at all these amazing people. We need to keep him about. He's useful. But yeah, I'm going to get on with that, and hopefully it's more stuff for anybody who hasn't already seen it to just obsess over and see some fantastic guitar builds whilst I carry on with this, which is probably going to take me the next 6 months, because I keep coming up with new ideas and new things that I want to try. But first I'm going to finish my coffee, because coffee is life. Right. Well, as I'm sure some people have noticed, there is no control cavity in the back of this guitar, and I don't intend to put one in either. Which means I'm making my life very difficult, but to ease that, I've had to have a think around how I'm actually going to get the hardware inside this thing. It's going to be a pain, but I've decided to extend the pickup routes underneath the top. So I've marked out where my pickups are going to go. That was a lot of careful measuring where my brain really wasn't switched on to the fact that I was supposed to have a camera going. I was just a bit obsessed with the numbers. So I've marked it on the body itself and on the top over here. I need to route out just these channels straight across. It's not going to take any strength away because it's all still glued together, and I've still got this bloody big block underneath it. It will take a bit of weight away, which is nice, because I'm quite looking forward to seeing how light this thing is, 'cause the thickness of it and everything, it should be an absolute beast. But with all of this airspace inside, I think it should come in quite comfortably under the 100-ton mark. So now what I need to do this is find myself a couple of straight edges to make a template with, and a router. So I've got a couple of my templates out of the cupboard, just small ones with nice straight edges. I've given the ends a sand to make sure they are perfectly straight, and we're going to attach them down. whilst I'm faffing about with the body, I've got a few cavities that I need to connect. So obviously I've done the route in the back for the tremolo, so the claw and the springs will sit in here, but I haven't connected that up to where the block on the actual bridge will sit. So I need to drill that through. Obviously I haven't connected the top and the back together yet. There are things that need doing before I can do that. So it's going to be a bit of a convoluted process getting everything lined up and sorted out right. But I may as well get as much as I can sorted, and that gives me edges and things that I can follow when I do get everything together. So we've got force and a bit in the drill. Use nice force and a bits, they actually cut. I'm just going to hog out a little bit of this. Or I'm not, because my battery's died. And I should probably plant down the wood. Let's try that again and see how long this battery lasts. I can't remember when I last charged either of them, to be honest. I like to recess my cavity covers, so on here we've only got the tremolo cover. I'm not a big fan of the straight square type. I like them to kind of follow the contours a little bit, so obviously it tapers towards the neck the way I've drawn this, and then because I've got the kind of access carve at the back, I'm just going to follow the curve of that, and then I'll blend it all in and sand it smooth. But this guitar needs battery, so I've got one of the Fishman Fluence battery packs, which, as much as I like to keep up on what's going on in the world of guitars, I didn't even know existed until I saw, I think it was TigetLuv Guitars. Check him out, I'll put a link in the description. The build he did for the Great Guitar Build Off, I saw the back of it and wondered why the trem cover was so thick, and then I saw a USB port, and then I saw the Fishman Fluence pickups, and I put two and two together and got about 478. But then I started looking at the Fluence battery options, and they are cool. I don't like the 9-volt battery box. Look, I've looked into loads of different types to see if you can get nice ones or kind of chrome ones or fancy ones, and they're all a bit boring and plasticky, and yeah, look now. However, this, they do a couple of variations. They do the one that's the trem cover, they do a Les Paul type cavity cover, and they do one that is basically a little phone battery and the circuit board here. So it's 1.5 inches square, it's tiny. With this, it's designed to be stuck to the back of a control cavity and stay out of the way. If I tweak that slightly and actually install this into a cavity here, and then drill a hole for the charging port in the cavity cover, it's got a quick connect for the battery to the circuit board, so I could attach this above the trem springs inside the cavity cover, have this tucked away in here. The only indication of a battery is this little black circle, which is really small, 12.5 millimeters across. Who's ever going to see that? And it's on the back. Plus, you don't have to keep buying batteries, you just plug it in with a USB cable and charge it that way. I've had a mess about with it, and it's got some quite cool switching with the wires. So it comes with everything automatic, everything to just wire it straight up. So I can plug in the, well, plug this wires to your jack socket and whatever needs power. It's a common ground, so a stereo socket wired in as a switch will mean that everything's switched off until you plug your jack in, and then power happens, and magic, wonderfulness. So I need to install this, which is basically the first of my slightly faffy, awkward things. And to anybody who's doing my trick and putting two and two together, yes, it's getting LEDs in it. That's why there's holes everywhere. It's going to make something of the silver leaf. That'll reflect the light. The way that I've routed for the pickups, I should, in theory, get a nice kind of glow around the edges of the pickups as well, because the cavity extends into the sides. That's the holes on the front should glow, the holes around the sides should glow. When it's not plugged in, I'm going for the kind of tasteful, nice bits of wood. As soon as you plug it in, blue, just blue light. So I've measured this out and marked where it's going to go. It's quite snug, it's a tight fit, but I'm going to put that in here, recess it all down a little bit, and then I can go about routing this and making a cavity cover. And I know that I'm probably going to have to go a little bit deeper with the actual trem cavity itself, just because of the thickness of this body. I've used an extra thick top and an extra thick body to compensate for the really deep carve. So everything's kind of sucked into the middle, if you will. But that gives me plenty of space to play with above the springs for the battery and the circuitry in here. Hopefully. It'll work. It always works. Just it'll work. So I've done some measuring, and I'm going to take the tremolo cavity down to its final depth now. May as well. In theory, if I can measure the thickness where I've got the pickup channels cut out, should be quite thin. We're down to about 4mm, which is pretty much perfect. Because for that, I'm going to put some threaded inserts for mounting the pickups, and obviously I don't want to go any thinner than that because they won't have anything to bite into then. But that's looking perfect. So for anybody paying attention, you may have spotted my mistake. I've actually routed the tremolo cavity on the back left-handed. But that's not an issue, it's easy to fix. and to be honest, it gives me a bit more clearance to work with for the actual trem block, so I'm not too worried. I just find it mildly amusing. This is why people say to measure twice and cut once. There we go, fixed. So obviously I'll route it the right way around from the top, but this just gives me a little bit of extra clearance now, so I can work with that. Okay, so looking in the back of this cavity, and then again at the front, it's given me an idea, and I think it's gonna work even better than I expected, because since I'm putting lights in here, if I took this cavity all the way across like I have the pickup cavities, I'm gonna have a glow behind my bridge as well, and I think that's just gonna be really cool. Yeah, I like that. That idea works.